What's up, gentlemen? What's up, sir?
What's going on?
What up? Everybody's
We're here. Let go. Have some of this next water.
Yes, sir. Do we all feel kind of like the same way about the state of hip hop right now? I ain't even talking Christian hip hop right now. I'm just talking hip hop in general.
What do you mean by how we feel?
What's the golden era? What's the golden era of hip hop? Okay? Why is it the 90s?
Ooh, wow. That's probably I would say that's probably the point where hip hop really hit its stride, because there was a level of development going through the 70s and the 80s, and it was more and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
it was more what?
You know. You know what it is.
Yeah, got it.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, with the feather leather.
Oh,
right. Yeah. Baby.
Yeah. Those guys.
It was all that. But then it really started to hit its stride, I think, becoming much more of a movement. Yeah. And very much more recognized as a voice of the people in the 90s. And then, you know, and it started to get much more commercial success at that time. So you started to recognize, hey, I can be successful as a voice of the people doing this music, etc. So
yeah,
I'm not just thinking it was the voice of the people. I think we were talking about this a while ago. Hip hop was represented regionally. Mm-hmm. So if you were from the East Coast, you represented a certain type of way. If you're from the West Coast, you represented a certain type of way. Mm-hmm. And everybody wanted to be.
So you see, he just agreed.
No, but everybody wanted to rep where they were from, even if you didn't have a regional style.
I don't think that's changed. Like you still rep where you're from, but I don't think it was like what I just heard you say was if you were from this place, you rep a certain way. If you were from this place, you rep a certain way. I think I totally disagree with that.
No, I'm not saying
because you look at West Coast hip hop in the '90s, and you have California, you have or even just Los Angeles, you have the Far Side, you have Snoop Dogg. They are repping
that's mostly
any kind of way that's similar at all.
That's mostly unique on the West Coast. But most places, but that's not what
that's the best coast.
But first off, I wasn't saying that if you were from a certain area, you had a style a certain way. I think another thing that was cool about the Golden Age is that everybody had a unique voice too. Mm-hmm. I mean, it wasn't just everybody trying to sound the same. Everybody tried to bring their own unique voice to the rap game. No one really tried to sound the same.
Right.
So, and you can go pop to MC Hammer to underground. It didn't matter. You did your thing.
Right.
But I think that that's. I agree totally. I think that's because I agree totally with what he just said.
Wow.
Totally. He said something intelligent one time. We caught it on film, I'm pretty sure. I think what happened is right before the industry started really like, I don't want to say pimping, but pimping out the rappers, and like people looking at it and saying, I don't care about the artistry, I'm just here to make money. And the reality is when it became so commercially viable, fools were like, yo, how can I get them dollars? Oh, Pop, I'm gonna sound like Pop. I'm gonna be the next Pop. Oh, this, I'm gonna be the next so-and-so. And then it was like, oh, just copycat his idea, not his style, or maybe his style, or copycat something. And then it feels like that, enough of that feeling, and now I'm gonna make money, as opposed to I'm gonna make what the heck I want to make, and then if it blows, it blows. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm a sincere believer in me. You look at Wu-Tang. No one sounded like that. No one was rapping about what they was talking about. They came out with some weird
riding through the club, shirt, belt, bottom.
Exactly. But they were so sold on this is me, right. And it's the bomb. Trust. If you don't think so, die slow, right? That's kind of how. That was their motto. You know, that's how they roll.
Let me get back to the question, because I really want to get you guys' take on this. It sounds like we agree though. Like we all have a similar take on hip hop and when it was at its apex, when it was at its best. So it's kind of like the '90s was that period where hip hop kind of.
I think all real hip hop guys agree with that.
All real hip hop guys.
If you don't agree with that,
sounds like discrimination.
Then that's what it's going to be.
There's a real hip hop and there's a fake hip hop.
Yep, basically.
Okay.
So if you disagree with this statement, you've on the other side of the fence.
Educate me on fake hip hop then. What's
I don't think
fake
there's a fake hip hop. I just think it's just not hip hop.
I'm gonna go with yes. Yes. Another wise thing said brother.
It's just not that. It's not hip hop.
Yeah, it's not.
So it's been kind of bastardized then. Yeah. Okay. With that, I'm glad you went there. Let me ask you this: if you were to single out one MC, okay, one rapper, one rap group, whoever it is, who single-handedly destroyed hip hop, like it's their career that caused the demise of hip hop. Wow. Who would that be? Now, I'm not saying it's the truth. I'm saying if you were.
So let me ask you this: in the context of this question, are we saying it's their fault or it's the ripple of them, or
yes?
You're not gonna like my answer. Yeah. I already know.
It wasn't this person's fault, but this is when I realized hip hop was really going.
You gonna keep it real right now?
Keep it real.
Yeah, I really hope you say the right answer too.
No, I'm just gonna say I was in college and Nelly was popping.
Yeah, that's ain't nobody. Nelly is not that important.
But listen. When I realized how many people like, man's gonna rob me, man must go.
Where did you go to college?
Indiana State.
Well, then that's where you was at.
But I'm saying, when I realized how many people like that
in Indiana.
No, just
nationwide. That was
so. Yours is Nelly. Who is yours, Jason?
Come back to me.
Okay, Joey. Who killed hip hop? Who shot it?
All right.
You said we're not gonna like your answer. I want to hear it.
You're not gonna like my answer.
Come on.
Tupac. Easy.
Whoa.
Easy. Tupac.
Whoa.
Easy. That's easy. Easily. You say who destroyed hip hop? Tupac.
How did Tupac destroy hip hop?
Wait. Let's all be as quiet as possible and let this brother explain and defend himself.
It's the real. All right, master class.
You want a piece of paper?
Master class. No, we don't need paper. We don't need paper. We don't need paper. You might need whiteboard at home to follow. But it's not even that complicated. One, before Tupac, you were either a bad guy or a good guy, hip hop wise, right?
I don't know if there was any bad.
No, let him do a thing.
You understand what I'm saying?
Go ahead.
He said no. They were either like thugs or kind of something else, right? Right? There weren't even like, I'm a player rapper. I can't even think of any except like Candyman, like, you know what I mean?
There were quite a few.
Who?
Outkast.
Outkast?
That wasn't.
They weren't players.
That first.
I don't think they were before Tupac either, though.
Okay,
before Tupac.
So we said before
Tupac.
I guess my point is there's a couple of theories in my brain that I'm working through, right? So with one of them, I think Tupac blurred the lines between like Father MC. Oh yeah, his career was like, ooh, he had such impact. You feel me? But that was his only stick. Like, I'm a player. He wasn't a thug and he wasn't like positive. He was just a, you know, I'm here for the ladies.
Carry on. Carry on.
You know what I'm saying? So with Tupac, like, people loved him for different reasons, and it created a different reason for everyone that loved him for different reasons. And it was like he blurred the lines between so many things. So when you had the copycat, it's not just that. There's that mixed with, you know, he passes and people say he's the best rapper ever. But if we look at it lyrically, he wasn't.
I agree with
So then you have people aspiring to be him. It'd be like if people said, you know what, Iman Shumpert, best basketball player ever. Let's all aspire to play like him. Basketball is going to suffer because of that.
That's a terrible.
No, it's not.
That's a terrible.
I'm not finished.
Should you just compare Tupac to Iman Shumpert?
Wait,
to me,
you shouldn't do that.
Okay, well, let's say who's a subpar shooting guard? That Bradley Beal, right? You know what I'm saying? Okay. John Wall. Okay, he's an all-star, but he's not the best, right?
Okay.
So if everyone,
let's say Derek Fisher.
Okay, I'll go with that.
That makes more sense, right?
Fine. Who cares? Random player who's not the best, basically. When everyone aspires to be this guy that's not the best, then you have everyone aspiring for subparness, mediocrity. Mm-hmm. And because Tupac was so multifaceted and people saw different things in him, then they're aspiring to be the piece of them that they appreciated. Do you understand what I'm saying? Instead of like, he was a complicated kind of guy. Right? And there are different reasons people liked him. And I think one of those reasons, how do you want to say? There are more reasons than just his music. And I think that was the beginning of people liking people. We were talking about like Words Played earlier. And like how people like Dude, but it's more of his social media than his raps. The same with Tupac. People liked him for all kind of reasons, and then that just turned into record sales, which then he passes early, and then people say he's the best rapper, then people aspire for that. That trickled down into subpar raps, and I don't have to be that good at rapping, I just have to be able to sell records. And I think that was the beginning of the end.
We got it. He's alone on the side. Joey, you're alone on the side.
I don't care.
I think there's other people. People
disagree because people are all in love with Tupac.
But I disagree on saying Tupac, but I agree with your assessment. But I would say Kanye is there way more than Tupac is.
No one has Kanye in their top.
Yeah,
anything.
somebody, I don't know who.
Let's ask somebody. Hey, you guys got Kanye in your top 10?
No, they don't.
Put it in the comments.
But they got Tupac in. We in Los Angeles, I'll guarantee you go outside and ask 50 people.
Donald Glover has Tupac in his top 10.
I'm sure
Kanye in his top 10.
I agree with you about Tupac. If there was no Tupac, there probably would not have been a Master P. If there was no Tupac, there probably would not have been Snoop Dogg, possibly.
No, Sims, you sound crazy.
I feel like Sims, but I feel like one of the, besides NWA, he was one of the other big.
Nah, Snoop Dogg had a career way outside of anything Tupac did. He would have blown. Period. Easy. Yeah. No. Okay. I don't think they're related.
Moving on. You got Tupac. I don't. I'm gonna tell you, I blame Ja Rule.
But Ja Rule is a Tupac.
Come on, son! I don't even understand what you. He's a clone.
Listen, yes, clone, but he destroyed hip hop by this. He convinced a whole bunch of people that could not sing that they could sing on their own hook, rap, and do the whole package themselves, and had a bunch of other rappers coming behind them doing the same thing, and it was all horrible. He got Ashanti thinking she can sing. She can't even sing.
No, Ashanti got Ashanti.
Look, but once again, but let's be honest.
Yes.
If Tupac doesn't pass away, there is no Ja Rule.
Okay.
No, it was DMX. Then it was Ja Rule.
Nah, I don't know that I connect Tupac to DMX, honestly.
You can connect any
bald head rapper to Tupac?
The thug crowd?
Yeah, you can connect them all.
That thug life? Man.
Then there you go. So he ruined it, like you just said. You can connect them all to Pac. He said it. There you go. He just agreed.
I didn't say that.
That is what you just said.
Yeah, you can connect them all.
That thug life?
The fact that Pac can come out originally as a dancer for Digital Underground, you know what I mean? And same thing with Dre and all them fools. Yeah. Like World Class Wrecking Crew, he got on a shiny suit and all that. Come on, it's all a gimmick. It's all a game. Like the whole thug life thing, it's a gimmick. It's a game. He was an art student at, well, you know what I mean? So he figured it out.
Exactly.
So that's why you're saying he drank.
Exactly. Because it's all fraudulent.
Because it wasn't.
So then it just becomes. Once again, there's not one reason I blame Tupac. There's multiple reasons. Because like you just said, it was all a game. It was all fraudulent. It was really, how can I sell records? How can I get fame? How can I get here? I think at one point he was sincere with the rapping. But that wasn't what propelled him.
But it wasn't sincere with the thug life.
It didn't work.
The thug life,
it was working.
The thug life was
that is what
Death Row thing.
Yeah, that's what took it there. I mean, you watch any interview with anyone who talks about Tupac, and he was so nice. He was so this. I can't believe it. He was in all these movies. He was an actor. Dude was. I think at the time, he was probably the best young black actor working. Period. Easily. He was a better actor than he was a rapper, as far as I'm concerned. Easy.
I don't know if I can blame the downfall of hip hop on Pac. I think you can blame the downfall of hip hop on America.
I agree. No, I don't think you can blame it all on Pac in that respect. But the ripple of him, who is the biggest
MC Hammer.
No, Puffy. No. It had to be Puffy. Puffy is the biggest ripple because when him and May showed up in that video with them shiny suits, hip hop died. It was just over.
I don't know if I agree with that.
You said something though super important. You said go back, dig at a craze like a real producer.
Puffy wasn't a real producer.
Okay, so
let's be honest.
I want to hit that up.
You understand what I'm saying?
I get it. Yeah. I want to hit that up only because, like, for me, like the golden era hip hop, it introduced me to like jazz. It introduced me to like funk. So like I learned who James Brown was kind of through hip hop. You know what I mean? Same thing with Ahmad Jamal or whoever, jazz musician. I learned who they were through hip hop. Is hip hop still doing that? Like, is hip hop introducing a younger generation to its ancestors?
Maybe. I don't know.
I think,
but maybe.
I think not.
Like, it was a Chris Brown song that he sampled Michael Jackson, Human Nature, I believe. And I was reading the comments, and a lot of the kids, they had no idea that this was even Michael Jackson. That happened with me too, though. Like you said, because you discovered.
You didn't know that Michael Jackson made Human Nature?
No, I'm saying.
Come on, Zach.
I'm saying that, like, through music, you discover other music, right? But so a lot of kids in the comments had no idea that this was a Michael Jackson song. So that it's possible, but what my point is, there isn't any of that happening now. I think what's happening in hip hop today is everyone's trying to be unique, and they're all.
Are they?
No, I don't think that's what it is at all. I think it has nothing to do with uniqueness. It has to do with finances. When you sample someone, you have to pay them part of your publishing. You have to give up your rights to the song. We had a sample that was, oh man, who was this guy? I don't remember his name. Who cares? Some random piano jazz guy.
No credits for you, sir.
Who cares? Yeah, we gotta talk about you. Anyway, we sampled him on a song, and when they took it in and said, "Hey, can we get the clearance for this?" He wanted 90, or did he want 110% of the song? Which means you want all of this song, and you're trying to get 10% of another song, right? So in that respect, like, that's why I think people just stopped sampling altogether, because they were like, I'm not gonna give up my percentage of the song. There's some dudes who are like, you know, after you get so far, while you're underground, I'll sample the mess out of some songs. But once I get enough to get a check, never sampling again, I'm about to blink, 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 figure it out.
It could be a marketing tool.
Why would you?
Recently, Nicki Minaj sampled a Tracy Chapman song, and she had been denying her for years, apparently. And then she just put the song out anyway. And
did she get sued?
More profitable for her to be sued and take the song.
How?
Apparently,
It must have made a lot of money.
It had to be. Now it got press. The song was up. People, so it doesn't matter. So, or like the Fugees, they got sued for I think Ready or Not. They got sued, and they're like, we'll take the hit. And
whose song was that?
I think the Red. I don't know. One of the songs on their second album, The Score, was that they didn't get the sample clear and got sued. And
was it a Prince song?
I don't know.
Yeah, but you gotta think, Fugees is what year, right? So then post that, people stop sampling, and then Puff comes back and starts sampling, and then you have Kanye, who, the resurgence of soul, because he was like, I'll sample, whatever, I'm trying to get in, right? And then after they get in, I ain't heard, does Kanye still sample?
I don't know what Kanye's doing.
But you feel me, right? Like, after you get in, it's like, I gotta limit these samples.
Yeah, he still does.
But it's not as much, because you feel like they're gonna take a percentage. It's all about percentages and publishing. It's money.
Why doesn't, well, maybe you guys don't know. I don't know either. Does Christian hip hop do that? Does Christian hip hop sample, like, secular hip hop, to call it that, you know, say like Premier. He would sample a whole bunch of jazz musicians or whatever it is, and then scratch in voices from Malcolm X and whoever. I don't see that, a lot of that in Christian hip hop though.
Because them dudes don't know how to make beats good enough. Look, when Premier chops up a sample, it's you're not hearing it like, yo, I press play, you heard the 8 seconds roll, loop that, and just keep looping it. That's not what he was doing at all. He was like, I'm gonna chop 3 seconds, I'm gonna turn it backwards, I'm gonna slow it down.
Right.
He was chopping the heck out of stuff. These fools they just in there playing around on GarageBand.
The danger with that comparison is you're taking somebody like Premier, who's Premier,
tell him,
and then versus everybody else.
Wait. Let me ask you something. Like, do you think that because Premier is Premier, there's no one on the Christian side that is as that creative?
Not close.
Really? Why? God created us creative. Why can't a Christian be that creative?
They could be. They could be. They just
up to degree more creative.
Okay, why aren't we? Why?
Because it's not worth it.
But I can't even think of too many beat makers on the Christian side that I could be like, dude, this is nice if you get Premier. I mean, like, just or I even know their name.
Yeah.
So a couple of people I could point out, I don't even know what they believe. If they're really
the other thing is like Premier. Once again, he's from that era. He's from the '90s where it was like, you know, before the commercialization. I mean, you think about Gangstar and all that stuff. That was what year was that, right? I Manifest. Wait, that's
91.
Way back,
like
right?
90,
And we can't compare that era to what's happening now. These fools are just in it for money. Premier wasn't gonna make millions, or he wasn't gonna eat. I don't think he was down there thinking, oh yeah,
which is the difference.
This is the come up.
Which is
scratching right now?
which
Yeah.
is the difference. If you know, to come back to kind of some of our original stuff, is which is the difference between that '90s era of hip hop versus now. Not only, basically, there was art. That era of kind of renaissance was about art, primarily art. And then when cats started to realize how much money they could make,
that's when it flipped.
And hip hop became the #1 musical art form in the nation, if not the world, all over.
To answer that question, I think you got to think about who are the most creative hip hop rappers of all time. People would obviously say Lecrae.
Who would say that?
You mean Christian hip hop?
No one would say that.
You said most creative?
Come on, man.
Because he
sounds like whatever is on the radio.
Exactly.
At the time.
I'm just saying,
there's nothing creative about that.
But I'm saying my point is, I'm painting it with a broad brush. Lecrae. Who else has had his success?
Painting it with a broom.
No. I think. So when you say people, I mean, I'm sorry. I just think the general public, they don't. Not to say like the fans are stupid, but I mean in certain respects.
No, so I get what you're saying.
They're only following what is out there. They only have so many options because realistically, like people are like,
it's like Yelp, for example. It's like Yelp. Everybody goes to Yelp and says, this restaurant is great because this is what everybody
But Yelp, but because you have a sincere, so you have sincere free market, and you have people who are really trying, and that's why you can go to Yelp and it's somewhat honest, right? But you look at Christian music with all the politics and the way people get in, and like, how did Lecrae even get to the forefront for anyone to even know his name?
So who are some nice beat makers in Christian?
Wait. Who's the most creative Christian hip hop artist right now? Put that in the comments. Carry on, sir.
Are you asking?
No, I was talking to the people, man.
Oh, okay, John. I'm sorry. What were you saying?
No, name the most creative hip hop artist. You got what? Propaganda, the Humble Beast.
I like Prop. Yeah.
Humble Beast.
The Humble Beast count, I think.
Well, now it's not a camp.
It's like
the most. Your question is, what's your question? It's
solo
Prop. And the Beautiful Eulogy still makes records, kind of. I'm guessing.
Propaganda. Jackie Hill.
That's a camp.
That's a camp.
It's a camp.
Back in the day, what would you say? Cross movement. Or
as most creative.
Or they were doing hip hop.
Yeah.
I consider them they were doing hip hop.
You want to say the most creative ever in Christian music history?
I'm just
Is that what you're asking?
I'm just saying, think about all these people, and who can you say out of those were like, man, that dude was really creative. And it's just like, you probably
Stephen the Levite.
Stephen the Levite, you thought was really creative?
I thought as far as rhyme scheme and stuff like that, yeah. I think he's up there.
Okay. There's a couple like more I guess if you could say underground Christian. I like Artificial Christian. I like
Artificial Christian?
Yeah.
I don't know who that
It's more underground Christian music.
is. You think Jay Gibbons was creative?
Yes. I do.
I'm a homer, so I'm gonna say Pigeon John. At the time,
yes.
he was Christian.
Pigeon John's
most creative ever in the Christian.
That'll
to be the Christian rap world.
That'll lead us up to that discussion about what's Christian rap and what's not, though. We'll get to that at some point.
You understand what I'm saying?
we were talking about why can't basically there be a DJ Premier in Christian hip hop?
Because once again, like he was talking about, when it was about art, then it was going to be focused on art, and art lends itself to you being individual and creative and expressive.
Christian
And
hip hop has never been about
you said
it has been.
You're saying Christian hip hop is just basically copycat.
I think it has been for years.
And is that why?
For the most part.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A lot of these guys, obviously there's guys in there who are sincere, who made their own stuff, who weren't like, I'm trying to be the next this guy, or did you think about it this way? Like when you learn how to play an instrument, or you learn how to do anything, we learn from copying. You learn how to walk because you saw your parents walk, you started to walk, genetically, obviously you have some genes, so you walk like them, you speak like people that are around you. You learn from copying. At the same time, art is going to say, you're going to then take that and say, well, what do you feel about this? Who are you in the context to all this? And I feel like if I can't listen to your music and say, okay, I know who you are, and I can point that out and see that, and I feel like, oh, you sound like you want to be him. Then,
but that's not completely true, because
what do you mean?
Lecrae is a copy. His
all day.
He copies the style of people, but I think his voice is for sure distinct in his music.
I don't know what you mean when you say that.
I mean, you're saying that an artist's voices should come through a who are you?
Maybe not necessarily who are you. Okay, but I think it is distinct who he is.
Well, let's talk about distinct voices real quick. Aha Gazelle. Do y'all know who that is?
Never.
My first introduction. My first introduction to him.
I'm sorry, I don't know you.
Somebody who was
rude, man.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
I mean, I didn't really know his music. My introduction to him was somebody who didn't want to associate with Christian hip hop.
Okay, when he came out and said, "I'm leaving Christian hip hop."
Right.
Yeah. So, have you heard any of his music?
A little bit, and it's just.
I heard it like 5 minutes ago.
Okay, what you think?
He made something. He did make something. You know, it's a little. I think. Look, I don't like his music. Not.
You don't have to.
Not an inkling of it. Yeah. I don't think it's good. I didn't like it. It wasn't for me.
Okay. So yeah, I will be honest with you. I'm not a fan of the music, but that's because like I'm a grumpy old man when it comes to hip hop. So there's a certain kind of sound that I'm looking for. If I'm going to listen to hip hop, I want it to sound like hip hop. And what's popping right now with Aha's music, it just doesn't sound. It doesn't sound like the hip hop I'm looking for. It sounds like the hip hop they play on the radio, you know, but it's not real hip hop. You know, to kind of throw that out there. But does that mean his music is in quality? Because I prefer a hip hop sound that's different from what's popping right now. You know what I mean?
I would say no. I think you have to be able to step back and either a couple of things. You want to be able to understand why people like this, whatever it is, whether it's super great to you or whether it's trash. You should be able to say, I try to look back and say, why do people like this? And say, I think I can understand that. At the same time, like when I'm listening to music, this is just me. If I feel like you don't rap as good as me, I don't like your music, almost.
So there's a standard when it comes to rap?
All day.
Okay, what is it?
If you don't rap anywhere close to as good as me, you're the trash. I am my own standard. Yeah.
I think that's a dangerous question because art is subjective.
But I think it's like watching a movie, right? When you go to a movie, if you watch the movie and you say, and you're just guessing the plot and you're right the whole way along, you're like, the movie was whack. Because I knew what was going to happen next, and there was no. It didn't make me think. Art should make you think. It should take you somewhere. It should be some sense of intellectualism, a little bit.
Per
that's
you.
Per me. Yeah, exactly.
So that's what the danger of that question is.
Yeah,
like,
it's subjective.
It's almost right. So it's almost like you know how there's some things just in the world where you're like, I don't know exactly what that is, but I know when I see it.
Yeah.
Right. And it's also, I think it's the same thing about things being good and things being bad. And it's the same thing, you know, whether even if it's not something you appreciate, you like. It's still something you can appreciate, you know? And that music, his music in particular, I cannot appreciate.
Yeah.
I don't like, and it's not good.
It's honestly, we pointed Aha Gazelle out, but it's not just him. It's like there's a genre.
Yeah, there's a whole.
It's called Christian,
but I think
it's called CHH.
But I think there's a false conclusion when we were saying art. I think
Did you say a false conclusion? Go ahead.
But I'm just saying we're gonna lead ourselves down the wrong path when this is not art. It's a product.
It is. But that's
it's an artistic product.
He's correct also.
Yeah, it is art. But
at the same time,
and whatever you say next is also correct.
Maybe. Usually not though. So probably not. No. I think he's right though when he says like it should be art though. I think that, and that's kind of the take. Like you can't. I mean, I don't know. Like, how can you be respected? Be a man, or I don't know. Be respected in what you do.
Be a man.
Step up, man. Jeez. No, it's not make music, but it's like represent yourself well. Especially, so here's the thing: if you're making Christian hip hop music, you're saying to yourself, you know what? I'm taking this gift of music. I'm gonna take this music and I'm gonna use it to glorify God. You gonna glorify God with trash?
Okay, that's your take on trash.
No, it's the truth.
However,
it's the truth. The truth is the truth.
We don't know if God is like, this is garbage. I don't want to hear this.
Sometimes I'm sure He is. Some of them songs that I heard, I'm sure He's like,
I'm not disagreeing.
Trash.
Listen, let's do this. We'll table it. Meet up next week. All right. We'll finish on what you know about God and trash. And
if they look, let me just say this real quick. You know if you've made trash or not. Some of these fools make
trash. You know, honestly, sometimes I've made a beat that I thought was dope, and somebody listens to what was that? I thought it was dope.
But if you thought it was dope, you have to be, there's an honesty in yourself to say, well, is this dope? Or am I lying?
But then there's also but check it. There's also been the flip where you make a beat you think is trash. And somebody's like, oh, this is dope, this is banging.
But I think that's the development and discovery of an artist.
That's called art. Hey, exactly.
Right.
But what we don't see that in a lot of Christian music. We see, let me, Drake's flow.
Does it sound like Drake? Yeah, let's put that out. Run that.
Yeah, that's the standard. Like, did it sound like Drake? Oh, did it sound like whoever, Fetty, whatever his name is? Did it sound like
I think that's the other problem with CHH is, they are serving an audience that wants to listen to music that sounds like secular people, but just happen to be talking about rap.
I don't know if they're serving an audience that's that. I think they saw Lecrae see success with that, and then they say, like the copycat clowns they are, oh, let me go make that same copycat and make it sound like this guy, because he did it and got popularity. I'm gonna go do it too.
I think it's more complicated than that.
It's a little more complicated.
I think it's
I don't think it's that much more complicated.
Well, we gotta hit this up next week, y'all. You gonna be here? You gonna come through?
No.
Come through, man.
I might be 46 minutes late.
40.
Who knows?
All right, man. Next week.